Hello and welcome to the What's Already podcast, where we fashion ourselves video game judge and jury. At this point, we are back with our live game through play of The Last of Us Part 1. We're up to episode 6, so we'll be playing through episode 6 of the TV show to get there. Yeah, looking forward to it. Let me get everything set up here.
Let's get to it. We left off last time, JJ. I wasn't here last week, so where'd you all leave off in the gameplay?
We left off exactly where 5 ended, so the unfortunate demise of Henry and Sam, and then heading into the wilds of Wyoming.
Good old Wyoming. I have only been there once.
I've been there quite a few times, but I've only been to Jackson Hole like 2 or 3 times.
So windy, my friend.
Oh yeah.
Jackson County. Means we're close to Jackson City, right?
Shouldn't be more than a few miles.
Is there a weird
Ready to
echo
see
for you?
Your old brother?
No,
Get
sounds
there.
good to me.
Okay.
Nervous?
I don't know what I'm feeling.
I'll tell you what, I would not want to have laid those power lines up in them mountains. Oof,
Yeah,
I would have blown.
no kidding.
I always think about stuff when you're on like a hiking trail or like there's a road up there or whatever. You're like, man, somebody had to do this.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Shiny's already. That's good because I'm
know
pretty
it.
sure. Oh yeah, I forgot about the sniper pistol.
Oh,
It's not my favorite gun, but
this doesn't seem super practical.
yeah. I love that the name of it is the El Diablo.
Hell,
So much for this road.
Jay, I wanted to ask you, one of
Straight to Tommy.
someone that I know on Facebook, he was one of my older siblings, good friends in the track team. He's very outspoken, takes a lot of hot takes. But he talked. In fact, let's see if he responded to me
Together, so
from what I said on Facebook about The Last of Us.
That's all.
I don't want to take too long. Ricky talked about how he said he thought The Last of Us was better acted and the storytelling was better displayed through the
your
game
friend
than the
Marlene
TV show. And
That kept him
wanted to
busy
get
for a
your
while.
opinion on that take.
How was it?
Man, that's a tough one.
Last time you saw it.
I think
I believe his last words to me were, "I don't ever want to see your goddamn face again."
man, that's a
Gonna
hard
help
one.
us?
I think
We're
it's
gonna find out.
perspective, right? Like I don't disagree completely. In
Let's
fact,
get going.
there's a lot of me that says there's a lot of good points there, and I think I have such a fond affection for the game that no matter how good the show is, it'll never be as good to me as the game, and that includes the performances. Now, I will say that after episode 6 and watching Pedro Pascal's performance in the whole, like the emotional scene that he had, I think that he did a really good job of raising the level. And then I think on the same token, Bella Ramsey's been doing similar things too. You know, she's been doing a lot of great stuff as far as the character goes.
Mm-hmm.
But I will always believe that, and we'll see in this playthrough that big emotional moment that between Ellie and Joel. And I do think that the game is better. I just do. But I also believe that if you haven't played the game, I think what they're doing on the TV show is amazing. But I can't say that I'm not biased towards the game. I definitely am.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel when I said that individual. And I was like, well, for those that haven't seen it, if they're just watching this, it's hard to say it's not good television.
Yeah.
And for someone like you or people that are diehards that have played all the
There's a
games,
hybrid
played them multiple
power.
times, I don't know how you were ever going to fully sway someone because that was what they were introduced
Uses the
to.
reverse movement.
It's their first love kind of thing.
Mhm.
And will the show ever live up to that? Maybe not. But what I kind of ended my thought onto that individual was just like, we've seen so many bad book to movie, game to TV show adaptations, and this is definitely towards the top of the list of being the best ever, in my opinion, so far. And so I just feel like there's really a lot to complain about.
Yeah, I don't either. And like I said, there's a lot of bias that goes into it for me, but I feel like I'll never feel like anybody, and this is nothing against Bella Ramsey. Like I said, she's done an amazing job. But Ashley Johnson, that voice and her snark will always be Ellie to me. And Bella will always be an imitation of that. And I'm not even going to say a cheap imitation because I think she's doing amazing, but it's still an imitation. And that's the trigger for me. But again, not to be too redundant, but I also feel like that will always be the case because of my love for the game. And it's my first introduction to these characters and this story. And that's just how, how I know these games and these characters. So
Mm-hmm.
it'll always be almost impossible to overtake those performances. I need one of these palettes.
I don't know, but to say the acting in the game is better than the show, I'm like, well, it's just I don't even know if you can completely compare that because
True,
they're not doing full blown acting; they're voice acting, and especially in numbered. I know in the second game they do a lot more like physical acting to an extent, so it's probably more true to form. But especially the first one, like Pedro Pascal and Bella Ramsey are having to take liberties that the game could never give them to bring these characters to life, and I just don't think you can make that direct comparison.
sure. And I definitely agree with that statement too. Like it's two different worlds. And yes, even this game kind of changed the way that the first one changed the way that they did. They involved the actors much more in the motion capture, which had never really been done too much before.
Sure.
To where they're actually acting in a studio and they have to like act against each other, which is I think very much adds to the level of greatness to the performances within the game. But I'm with you. It's still a different medium and it's a different, the one thing that you have going for you, in my opinion, and I know less than shit about acting, but it's one thing to do your voice and then even to do the physical body movements in the acting, but it's in the game, but it's another entirely to be the embodiment of that person like you have to in the live action TV show, right? Like this isn't just some random person. This is you have to become Ellie and Joel and Tommy to a degree that the voice actors I don't think have to in the same way. I think they do. I just don't think in the same way. So I think you're definitely comparing
Give it a spin.
Some level of apples to oranges, for lack of a better metaphor.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just so thankful it's going so well. But you bring up a good point about Last of Us 2 in video game acting with these motion capture and things. Do you feel like, I mean, Naughty Dog's kind of paving the way. Do you feel like more of these video games are going to have this high level character acting in this motion cap, almost treating it like a movie in a sense, the more that this technology supports that?
I wish that I could say 100% that I do believe that they will, but I still think it comes down to, and we're getting into some deep video game stuff here. I still feel like most video game studios are complete and utter businesses, and they're going to do whatever it takes to make the most amount of profit. And for most of them, that means pumping out AAA games as fast as possible.
Talk about it.
No.
Regardless of
how many times do we need to go over this
story or anything like that.
Happen.
And I think that's one of the things that's always set Naughty Dog apart for me, is that they're okay taking a while on a game. I mean, look at the games that they put out, and most of the games like this one, they take years. I mean, we went 7 years without a sequel for this game. So I think that they do it right because they understand the integrity and the power that comes with the storytelling of that. And I do wish more games would lean into that and more studios, but
yeah, you bring a good point. It's all about the money. And once they start getting into that, the profit margins definitely lessen.
I know I am too.
Yeah. profit
Past this
margins
place,
are
then we can scrounge up some food.
unfortunately
If I said
key.
you're responsible.
Drives the world.
Oh yeah.
It's the unfortunate reality, that's for sure.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Seen these graphics in a while.
We
Just
head in.
looks like I'm in the Pacific Northwest, right? Or
That's
you're in the
the plan.
Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
The way my day looks.
Wow, you should see. We're getting bombarded with snow on my
Don't even
end.
think about reaching for your weapon. Tell the girl to drop hers now.
Getting
Oh,
one
in
of
Utah
those-
right now?
Yeah.
Huh.
Getting one of
Lady
those
said.
massive snowstorms.
Hey.
That's why my internet was.
Please
That's
tell
why we
me you're
got started
lost.
late, because my internet was wonky.
We didn't know the place was occupied. We're just trying to make our way through.
Through to where?
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him. He's my goddamn brother.
There he is.
Hey,
Holy shit.
How you doing, baby brother?
Goddamn. Yeah. Let me look at you.
Their embrace was a little bit different
Oh,
in
yeah,
the show.
Easy.
yeah.
Won't happen
Well,
to
and
you, too.
the means to which they
This
were
is
trying to
Marie.
get to each other was different
be
too.
nice to her.
Because
She sort of runs things around here.
very different as far as
Ma'am.
Tommy or Joel going
Not
looking
blow my
for
head off.
Tommy, right?
Would have been embarrassing, considering you're my brother-in-law.
We all got to get wrangled up at some point.
I wasn't sure if he was or
right?
wasn't married in the video game, but
Punch you through here.
Yeah.
confirm that.
Yep.
That's kind of a long story.
Why don't we bring him inside?
You hungry?
Starving.
You think? I haven't ate for like 3 months.
Yeah, no
False
shit.
alarm! They're friendlies. We've been dealing with raids. A lot of bandits in this area.
It's been quiet for a few days.
What the hell are you doing here? I thought I'd find you in Jackson.
Been trying to bring the plant back to life.
We had it working before, but one of the turbines went south.
We have electricity, Joe. I had. We'll get it running again.
So again, this is much more focused on the
You guys have horses?
power plant
Yeah, a whole
dam,
lot of
and we have to fix
Tommy,
electricity,
give me
where
a-
they kind of
Sorry,
just
I'll be right back.
skip past the saying it's working
Yeah, of course.
to an extent. They didn't really focus, or are we going to get more of that focus next episode?
No, you don't actually get
Have you ridden a horse?
the
Winston,
Jackson
this soldier
itself
back in the
focus
He gave me lessons.
that
No,
you
come on, we
get
can take 'em
in
riding
the
later.
show
That'd be awesome.
in this game. Most of it takes place right here.
There.
Hey, thanks, Tommy.
No sweat. All right, let's continue the tour.
Let me pat this horse on the ass here real quick.
Earl?
I always love the way that they treated animals in this game until part two, and in part two it got a little rough for me.
You know, we'll be fine. Just go home to your family.
Just a couple
Can't
more
mi-
hours. I'll tell
Can't mistreat animals. Tay will be out on that show fast. She
Yeah,
can't
it's-
deal with it.
It's rough.
She can't deal with it.
Part one's tough because they have like the bad guys like sick dogs after you, so you have to
Hmm.
deal with them.
Maria,
And so it's
Yeah, go
like,
ahead.
oh,
we're in the control room. Steve's about to start it back up. You want to come check it out?
I'd rather eat with Ellie.
It's my turn anyway. I'll go.
I'll come with you. Go with Maria. Put some food in you.
Come on, Ellie. Let's give the boys some space.
Yeah, you gotta have some bro
I'm
time.
sending Tommy over. Stand by.
yeah. And I love that that's the jacket that she's wearing after they get to Jackson.
This will be the sixth time
In
they
the
tried to get
show.
the turbines back online. We've been here just a week. It feels like forever.
Do you like? I mean, I know we talked about it in our podcast, but bringing it up again, do you like the deviation from
Yes.
this to just see more of Jackson?
Last year I went
I
back
do.
to Texas.
I think especially for like
Most of our stuff is long
the
gone.
TV portion of it, like that, this wouldn't make near as much sense from a TV perspective. I don't think. I think they really did.
And what do you mean by that? Just because this is too gameplay and,
Yeah.
and
Still looks pretty good.
The
little
only
things
reason
that build on each other instead of adding character development and story development.
yeah, like I think
You sure?
what makes
I mean,
this
said I'm good.
the crossover for this is the story between these two, right? Like the catching up and the touching
hold on
base,
to
the
that.
how you doing?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
good to see you. This is Ellie
I need to talk.
meeting Maria for the first time. So like and then this part where he talks
Yeah.
to him about
Okay.
Ellie and taking her
Let
the
me just
rest
check
of the
on my guys
way.
real quick.
That's the important part of this section. And the only other part that makes sense is in Jackson, you're not going to have the Raiders get into Jackson. It's just too heavily fortified.
Mm.
Whereas this place that you get ready to go into the gameplay here in a second, where the Raiders come in, you can actually, that gameplay makes sense in here.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, having it in this location in the game was all about the gameplay versus the story could be anywhere. And so I like that they introduce you to Jackson. And I think it makes sense for a part, like since it's been confirmed for season 2 as well. And I'm sure they were less concerned about that overall, but they had to have had it on their mind at least a little bit, knowing that they get to introduce you to Jackson earlier than season 2, because you spend, I guarantee if they follow the second game, they're going to spend at least 2 episodes in Jackson.
Mm.
So I think it's good that you'll have the audience familiarity with Jackson as a whole.
Got it.
When you start season 2.
With season 2 being confirmed, Jay, where are your suspicions on the timeline jump with how they're going to portray that in the show? Are they going to get more back? So where's your gut at with that now?
See the town.
Based on some of the interviews and like the articles I've been reading, and again, I haven't seen anything that 100% like Neil Druckmann or Craig Mazin have confirmed anything, or anybody from HBO for that matter, that season 2 will be based on game 2. But there are like news outlets that are saying that it's been confirmed and that the focus of season 2 will be game 2. And if it is, then we have a 5-year time jump if they follow the same time jump for the game. And you start off in Jackson, you start off in Jackson with Joel and Ellie. Well, mostly Ellie, but
These two geniuses are going to bring this plant back to life.
I'm trying to decide if I'm going to play the game before that one comes out, because I haven't played 2.
Don't believe us?
man, I don't know.
That.
I would always
I'll bet
tell
you
you
$1 million
yes,
it
but
works.
I don't know.
Sure.
Make it 2.
That's a tough one.
Ready. They just need to finish putting
And I worry, I will say, and you guys, you know this about me because that's where my tattoo comes from. I've told you, part 2, like, for me, was one of the most emotionally taxing video games. I think it is the most emotionally taxing video game I've ever played. And it, like, so I worry the
All right.
man,
That's
the
good.
the
Tommy's
complexities
here.
of
Good to go.
part 2, throwing that in TV. I don't envy those guys having to convert
Ready?
part 2 into a show. It's a lot, and I don't know that they can do it in one season.
We did it, boys.
Like, it wouldn't surprise me if they convinced
Somebody get on the horn and
HBO
give Maria
to
the good
confirm a 3rd season and split part 2 into 3 seasons or
Well,
2
shoot, I
seasons.
feel like that argument can't be that hard for them. They're having like record watch numbers for this.
Yeah, the only time they haven't was the Super Bowl week. So
Yeah, and I mean that's through the day off it came out, a lot going on that weekend. That's understandable, but they're making buku off of
crew you got here.
this so far.
You're
yeah,
a good man.
I mean, with
Second chance.
as long as Neil Druckmann and Mazen or whatever, however you say his last name, are part of this, I mean, I'm feeling good about the direction. It just becomes once.
I've been on.
Have they talked about making? And this is my lack of knowledge and not playing number 2. Is there a 3rd game that will be made that will come out? That's
so
it.
there is a 3rd game that's been teased that it's possible. They haven't ever confirmed it.
She's immune.
Immune to what?
Nothing like that. So there's no guaranteed 3rd game.
Enough spores
Right now, they're focusing on the multiplayer for game 2.
I wouldn't have believed it either.
There's a
but
multiplayer.
There's
I
one
didn't know
coming.
that.
Yeah, there's
Oh.
multiplayer for game 1 as well.
All right.
It's called
I did not-
Factions. Yeah,
I did
it's pretty
not
fun.
know that.
I'll bite.
It's pretty intense.
Why bring her here?
Supposed to deliver to
But the
Firefly.
3rd game,
The way I figured that
there
your
is an
boys-
opening. They could
you
do it
finish the
if they
job,
could
you
get the
collect
story
all
right.
of
And I know
haven't
what
seen
I would do.
Firefly in years. You know where they are.
But I'm sure
Well,
that they'll come up with something.
You
but-
tell us what you would do, JJ. That's
well,
what
no,
I
because
just wanna
it'll
hear.
give a lot away,
What
man.
makes you
But
think I'd do this?
But this is our spoiler zone.
that's
Your
fair.
damn
That's
problems.
fair.
My cause is my family now.
So at
We
the
ain't talking
end of
about
the
some
game,
walk in
like
the park.
Jesus, boy.
you go
Have
through a
Maria
lot, but
get some of your born again friends to do it.
They
But
got families
Ellie's
too.
kind of on her
Tommy,
own
I
now
need
at
this.
the end of the second game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the last you see of her, is kind of walking off on her
You want
own.
some gear?
And so you don't know where she's
Sure.
going. If it were me, like I'd have her isolated,
that
like
girl off
having
your
her
hands.
having isolated herself.
This is how you gonna repay me, huh?
And
Repay you.
For all
I
those
would have the
goddamn
main
years I took
character
care
be
of us.
someone other
Took
than
care.
Ellie
That's what you call it?
to start.
I got
And I
nothing
think
but
that I would
nightmares from those years.
You survived
have
because of me.
It
someone
wasn't worth it.
accidentally run into her and she's become a version of Joel to a degree.
Mankind.
That's where I
You
would
little
start it. I don't know
pissy
how I'd
little
go all the way
brother.
through it, but
We ain't
So
Boston.
they don't find a cure, is
You
what you're
ain't
telling me?
Again,
No.
it won't end well for you.
Damn.
this interaction's way different than the
We're
one in
under
the show
attack.
too. Like
Oh,
much
yeah.
more
Still
aggressive
remember how to
and,
kill, right?
and not the emotional piece. It's an angry thing. So that's why I like that transition
Bandit! Stop
to
him! Don't let him into the
what we
building!
have. Takes so long to reload this weapon.
Whew.
It
Dead
hits
eye.
like a truck, but
Dead eye. That is so unrealistic in a real
oh
fight.
yeah, oh yeah,
Let me take some time to line my sights on this here pistol right here.
that's right.
You would not have that time in Grounded, I'm sure.
No,
Or like the slowest crouching. You're like, I'm good.
yeah.
Old Joel. Oh,
Did I get that dude? I think I did. Oh yeah.
yeah, you put him to sleep. Put that man to sleep.
Tommy, cover me. Be careful.
How about a crowbar
How about it?
and some bullets? What else we got? Ooh,
Some
we got
violent
components.
Santa
Yeah.
right there.
This is-
Our new favorite yearly Santa Claus edition.
Absolutely.
You can say that again.
Hi, buddy. Oh, hello. You should have stayed up.
Oh, too slow.
Oh, not this time.
You should have just come up and shot.
Yep. Oh, I got one too. Ooh, he's kicking my ass.
Oh,
Somebody's mad.
oh. It's okay. Joel doesn't get hurt.
That's right.
Take a pill.
It was a good duck.
Bandits! They're breaking into the building!
Can you get out of there?
No, we're trapped.
We're gonna come to you. Just stay.
They're here! Ellie, hide!
Oh yeah,
Maria.
axe time to switch it up.
It's a little more bloody.
No, I don't want to swap that. I want to use that.
Jay, when he got the backpack in the show from Henry,
Yeah,
was that how he got it in the game? I felt like he had the backpack earlier, but they made a point of showing that in the show.
yeah. No, he had it from the very beginning in the game. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. I got to reload.
That's good to know. I wasn't sure about that transition.
Yeah, he had it from the very beginning in the game. My auto aim's working tonight, dude. That has not been the case the last couple. Ooh, he shot me.
Got me.
One shot left. Oh, you're done for. You do that again. Come on, peek one more time.
Trench warfare.
Okay. Now I'm done with this. Let's go.
See, I'd have just charged with my shotgun.
They're fighting on the bridge. Let's go.
Joel, for being a 57-year-old man, is very good at his what they call in the fitness world a duck walk.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's all, little sons of bitches.
Yeah, you do that for a while, you'll definitely have some sore quads.
Oh yeah, stuff will get you.
We gotta get to the girls. Right behind you. Right there.
Joe, do your thing.
Joel, do your thing. I love it. From up
Do your
here.
thing. Only Tommy could say that. He knows.
Well, they made light work of those guys while I was running here. Oh!
You're dead.
Probably not, but that's a nice thing. I'm gonna heal
Only in-
myself up here.
Only in real life.
Yeah, exactly. Only if we were actually having a gunfight, then I'd be in trouble.
And I think that's one of the other aspects of video game to TV show adaptation is, even though Hollywood does this all the time with Rambo and superhero movies and stuff, but trying to make it feel more realistic and not having all these epic gun battles where you're like, at some point the odds are just going to be against you, where you're probably going to die.
For real?
Yeah.
I'm all right. The kid's with me.
Because what's interesting, I've been listening to a lot of like special forces stuff, and they actually talk about how it's less dangerous than you think, but it's because of the sheer amount of preparation, the training, the superior gear, all of that, where many of the times when they go into an op, we're just 10 times better.
Yeah.
But something like this, where you're going into impromptu firefights, that's where they talk about. It's like, look, when you don't know and you're not sure what's going on, you don't even have a lot of people, your team or recon, like it's a whole different ball game. Like anything goes, and you could go down. You could be the most talented.
What's that all about?
You could go down immediately.
Sure. Yeah, it's very, very.
Does that have anything to do with me?
I mean, and I think that's why I love the TV show so
They tell
much
you
that
where the
it's
lab is?
avoiding a lot of the random gunfights and gameplay that's there is because of that. What you're talking about. There's no way this dude is that prepared that he's that good in a gunfight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a random impromptu
One fuck
gunfight.
up
So
and then I turn into one of those widows, okay?
I think, yeah, it's like they show he's not like the best shot, except when he shot the asshole and did that. But I was like, well, he's got time. There's no life and death threat at that point, but they've humanized his ability because at the end of the day, he is 57.
yeah.
He's aged quite a bit when we heard Tommy talk to him and what he looked like. And so I think keeping it more to that sense of realism, I've appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I love that they talk about his bad knees and his. It's because, like you said, you're duck walking across the fucking bridge, and you don't even. He's like, he's good to go. You know what I mean? And I can't look. I'm not in any kind of shape as Joel, but I can't even stand up from my chair one time without my knees going. What are you doing?
Talk to Ellie.
It's questionable decisions.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Say again, I didn't hear you.
But seeing this again, I forgot how much,
Joe.
so many cutscenes that, especially during this time period, there's
Yeah.
so much.
Which
This
way?
one's a
Come on.
big. Does that make it
Just saw her
harder
riding
to
on
see
out
or
of here.
easier to see?
Go
me?
back inside. Up there.
It's better to an extent.
Okay.
We need one of those things that
Track.
shines on like your face or like on the wall next to you.
Yeah, I need to get a ring light.
All right, come on.
I have a little one, but it's hard to mount, so it's like I've got to figure out how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're recording, it's just the screen's so dark. Normally, my screen's really light, so it lights everything up. So
This game's just usually more dark than not.
Shouldn't have gotten far.
yeah, so
We'll find it.
this
Don't worry.
is a big difference. This is one of the big difference. So you see, we're not going to Jackson because they're going to find Ellie right now.
What's going on?
Because she ran off, because she figured out that Joel was trying to pawn her off.
Made the wrong decision there.
Yep.
Another thing I appreciate about this game is just I'm sure the graphic artists and everyone had a really fun time just trying to figure out what a road and environment would look like 20 years later. I mean, that's
Horse tracks. She went
it's
into
a
these.
fascinating
Come on.
thing to try to figure out.
Dude, if that's one thing. So you'll appreciate this. The second game, this is why another reason I encourage you to play it. Because the second game, most of it takes place in Seattle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So you actually get to see. Only it's really interesting. Yeah, I don't want to give too much away from it because you'll play it, but like
There.
obviously
Full
it's
track.
a very changed
good.
Seattle. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? So it's very interesting. Like when you talk about the landscapes, and of course the transition for that game is it came out late PlayStation 4 and then was adapted into PlayStation 5 pretty early, and the graphics are just outrageously gorgeous. When you get into Seattle, all the green and the water and it's beautiful.
yeah. It sticks out, I'm sure, quite well.
Yeah.
I mean, because this was originally OG PS4,
PS3.
PS3, and it looks this good
Yeah.
after the remaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's very different. PS3 was the original console.
I got your back.
Oh, I forgot about this gunfight.
Goddamn many. Move it up.
Yeah,
This
like
guy.
And I'll cover you.
just talking about what we were before, like there's so many of these. We're like, yeah, you're gonna die.
Yeah. Or like any good militia, like these guys are waiting on an ambush and you miss every shot. Come on.
Yeah, well, thankfully it's a video game, but real life, you're like, fuck.
Yeah, you're toast.
You're done.
Okay, I don't think. Do I have? Okay, let me. Ooh, nope. That's not what I want. I want that one. Okay, so now we can get a little gung ho again. Oh, he got me.
Oh, he's right there.
It's this other guy that I was like not fully prepared for. Yeah, go around. Go ahead.
In a post-apocalyptic setting like this, would we have lost the ability to make more ammo? I feel like it's a yes and no.
Yeah. I mean, it would be much more difficult because you'd have to collect your own. Like, you'd have to collect casings,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'd have to have a press. So, but it's out there, so
Because you
could
can
find it.
repurpose casings, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah,
you can do that, but making of new ones would be really difficult because the metal, the supply chain, all that is basically broken.
Yeah, you're challenged on top of the metal. Like if you had to create new casings, you're in trouble. The other problem you run into is gunpowder.
Yeah.
It's not as easy to just say, well, I'm just gonna, I'll just put together some gunpowder for us.
Sure. Well, it's like the moment your machine that makes the casing breaks down, you probably don't have another machine to make the replacement part for that machine.
Correct. Yeah, and it's like it's gonna always be like a slippery slope, right? Once that stuff starts to fail you, it's gonna fail you all the way around.
Yeah, and that's I've been thinking about that a lot more lately with just our world. Like once those things just start, even once you start to lose the ability to make more gas and such, like all hell just breaks loose. Like you may even have the resources somewhere, but if you can't get to it, it's almost like you don't have it anyways.
Yep. Yeah, it's quite the compounding problem if you start to think about it from a realistic mathematical perspective. There's gonna be an issue, and once the issue starts, it's only gonna get worse because it'll it just compounds on itself. I want to see if there's some ammo.
That's why a lot of this makes sense. It's like, oh, why couldn't they get the internet back or all that such? Like, well, once it goes, like humanity's gonna take some time it's got to walk before it can run.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, like, you see, like, in this episode when they're at this part of the game, when they're at the dam, they're having issues. They got to get it up and running again. Like, that's one of the big things for them is you can't just, like, flip a switch and the dam runs. There's maintenance that has to be done. And at some point, there's going to be an issue because eventually your maintenance, you may run out of maintenance, the ability to maintain the thing. Not to mention, you better hope you got some sort of mechanical engineer at the
Yeah.
very least. And yeah, I don't know. It's tough. It's an interesting to think about too. Like when you play the grounded versions of these games, like I do most of my killing hand to hand and grounded because the ammo is so few and far between
Yep.
Tracks keep going this
that
way.
it's
Wait,
just not.
You think
worth
about it
it.
these days about how more expensive ammo's become, how difficult it is to find some ammo types now because when they make it, it's gone. It's either being bought in mass or people are smart. They know that, hey, once shit hits the fan, if I don't have the ammo, it doesn't matter how many guns I have, they cease to matter to me. And so you can just see quickly that like resources will go.
Yeah, for sure.
Or it's just with COVID, toilet paper, for instance, like
Yeah.
like good heavens, what are people gonna do when that runs out? Or just you can't go to it's a shame Alex not on here because he's talked about like food storage and things like
Yeah.
that. Just people living beyond,
Look, by the
what
rain.
would you say? I'd say
Go
beyond
on.
like
It's gonna be there.
a 2 week period, which for some people still stretching with the amount of food and shelf life that they would even have. Because a lot of these people in the inner cities, what are they doing? They're door dashing, they're
Yeah.
going out to eat. They probably only have 3 to 5 days worth of food in their apartment.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't even imagine. Like, and it's funny that you talk about the fact that Alec talked about, food supplies and things like that, because that's one of the things that Casey was pretty big on. Was I've talked about my garden and the orchard that we have, was like
Ellie,
the sustainable food that we can do ourselves, and
Ellie?
we don't have to rely completely on groceries. Now, don't get me wrong, we still buy groceries, and I don't grow everything, but I do have the ability to do a lot more than
Yeah.
a lot. So
Yeah, it is something that I'm like, that's one of the things I need to do, especially now having a kid later this year. It's like have some backup stability, but we have a lot of canned goods and things where nothing on Alex level, but I'm like, I need to build it up a little bit more. But the other side of it is one of the podcasts I was listening on Joe Rogan, and he was talking to a survivalist that does a lot of training for combat and just like general preparedness across the board.
yeah,
It's just like the foraging ability, like when your food storage does run out, if some of these things that could happen do happen, what are you going to do when you don't have like flour and all those things? How can you go hunt? Can you do you know how to dress a rabbit like we saw in the show where Ellie's
Yeah.
like, well, why did they call it dressing? Like, what is that? And
yeah,
as of now, like, I can't do that. Like, I haven't enough of an idea where I think I know what I would do. Like a fish, I could, but beyond that, like, I don't know what to do. It's a skill I have not leaned into, and I was in Boy Scouts, and I have some more skills than some people do. But I would dare say, 95% of America doesn't know. Maybe more like 98% doesn't know how to do any of that.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thought, like experiment to sit and say, nope, I don't want to go in there yet. I know that you got a gunfight coming. I got to get some supplies.
Shinies.
Gotta get some shinies before I go and talk to her. But yeah, like it's an interesting thought experiment because you think about it's fun to watch these apocalyptic shows and you're like, ooh, look at them doing their thing. But I think it would be a very successful thinning of the herd, so to speak, if we were to ever have something like this actually happen. Because I'm with you, like, I mean, I can dress some animals. Like I couldn't tell you, it's been years since I helped dress a deer, but I could do rabbit. I can do fish. Not my favorite thing to do, but I can do it. But I'm with you. I don't think there's a lot of people that can say, yeah, bring me a deer, bring me a fish, bring me any sort of animal, and I can dress it, prepare it, and get it ready to eat. And that's just one aspect of it, right? Like, I'd venture to say that as simple as it sounds and seems, I don't think a lot of people would be able to grow their own food.
No, I mean, think about how many people just kill their own house plant.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if it weren't for Casey, I wouldn't be able to grow any of that stuff. So
it got me thinking about that stuff more because the Buffalo snowstorm that happened earlier this year, it was like somewhere between 10 to 15 people died because of it. just because they got stuck in their cars and things, and they didn't have like any basic level of preparedness to say like, hey, should I, if it's this cold where I'm living and driving, I know there's snow, maybe I should put like at least a blanket or like a sleeping bag or a car flare, or have like a backup couple of granola bars or something, anything like that. Because it's that, like, if you're living in Minnesota or in Alaska, you would think like, hey, like, you just don't know. But nobody really did. And people literally froze to death just sitting in their vehicle, either because of carbon monoxide poisoning, because the snow went over their tailpipe and they died, or they just froze. And you would think, well, hey, if they had a sleeping bag, it'd be cold, but they'd make it.
Sure. Very different.
And something as simple as that, where just could do it.
Yep. All right, here we go. We're getting ready to walk into the scene.
Hey.
Is this really all they had to worry about?
This is where I'll be quiet for a little bit.
Boys.
Yeah.
Soak this in.
Deciding which shirt goes with which skirt. It's bizarre.
Get up. We're leaving.
And if I say no?
Do you even realize what your life means? Huh? Running off like that, putting yourself at risk? It's pretty goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want from me?
Admit that you wanted to get rid of me the whole time.
Tommy knows this area.
Oh,
better
fuck
than...
that.
Well, I'm sorry. I trust him better than I trust myself.
Stop with the bullshit. What are you so afraid of? That I'm gonna end up like Sam? I can't get infected. I can take care of myself.
How many close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
Maria told me about Sarah.
Ellie?
And
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
I'm sorry about your daughter, Joel. But I have lost people too.
You have no idea what loss is.
Everyone I have cared for has either died or left me. Everyone fucking except for you. So don't tell me that I would be safer with someone else, because the truth is I would just be more scared.
You're right. You're not my daughter. And I sure as hell ain't your dad. And we are going our separate ways.
Get it together. We're not alone.
So good, dude.
There are two walking in.
There's more inside already.
Honestly, I quite like the TV show rendition of it. They did quite a good job, in my opinion.
Yeah, they did.
Who's the voice actor that plays Ellie?
Ashley Johnson.
Yeah, she's got a good voice.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like hard to imagine.
Got nothing over this way.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it was so hard to imagine anybody else being the voice of Ellie.
But it's funny, she's obviously way older, but she sounds like she's making herself be a believable sounding like 14-year-old girl. And you're like, oh, that's
Hang back.
You know, it's interesting too, though, that you say that, because I agree with you. But she also has a very similar sound as an adult. Like, she has a little higher pitched voice than most, but she does tweak it a little bit for the game. And like, yeah, she's just been, and she's one of my favorites. Like, I knew her from, she was in the Avengers. She was like the waitress that Captain America saves. The blonde, that's her. And then she was in a show called Blind Spot on NBC for years, where like they find this girl in New York. She was in like a bag, and she has like tattoos all over her body, and the tattoos like have deeper meaning.
House is clear.
And so she's an FBI agent, like smart person that has to figure out like what the tattoos mean and stuff. She's a really good actress. Like, that's, and of course she's on Critical Role too, so I really enjoy that. But in fact, Critical Role, here's an interesting story for you. Critical Role wouldn't exist in its current format if it weren't for this game. So the guy that voices Joel, Troy Baker,
Let's get back to the horses.
has been for years one of Laura Bailey's best friends, if not her best friend, who's Laura Bailey's well known. She's actually the voice of one of the characters in one of the main voices in one of the characters in part 2 of this game.
Mhm.
But she's a prolific voice actress and a big part of Critical Role. And so
Clear.
when Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker were Joel and Ellie in this game, that was the first time they met. And then Ashley not only met her current fiance through that connection,
You want a hand up?
but that's how she met Ashley or Laura Bailey. That's how she met Travis Willingham. All these people that are currently she's in a company with Critical Role, all because she got this part as Ellie, and by extension met. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Life works in mysterious ways.
It's crazy, isn't it?
There's that guitar.
Oh, it's such beautiful music. Gustavo Santaolalla, that's his name. He does. I have both soundtracks on my phone, like as part of my Amazon Music playlist, because it's just so good.
Yeah, it's funny, just the power of a few notes. If you do it right, I mean, just take Jaws for instance.
Yep.
It's really not much of anything until it's very much everything.
Yeah. Yep.
We watch
This is
movies.
as close as we get to Jackson in this game.
Where is this lab of theirs?
It's all the way out, University of Eastern Colorado.
Go Bighorns. Ellie, get off your horse. Give it on back to Tommy. I'm gonna hang on to this fella. That's all right with you. Go on, don't make me repeat myself.
So this is basically our breaking point of where the show ended.
Kind of scares me.
No, they get to Colorado
I don't
too.
want it coming out.
The university, remember? Because Joel takes the back.
Oh
with him.
yeah, that's right. The fall. I forgot about that.
Hey, let's discuss it at least.
So we'll have to go through
Your
him
mind all made
falling.
up.
We only got one section of gameplay left, though,
University,
so it should be a
Eastern
pretty
Colorado.
probably another
Yeah,
half
we're
hour,
good.
45 minutes.
How do
No, I
find
know,
this lab?
but yeah, we still got a little more.
Science building. Looks like a giant mirror. You can't miss it.
Next week, it
Either
looks
way,
like I'll be playing the DLC.
Yeah, we were going.
No.
And I've never even seen it, so I'm very.
Oh, really?
When did it come out?
Probably a year after.
Oh,
Maybe
that
a year and a half.
after the so it's
After the
still
original?
built for the PS3 then.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But they've upgraded it, and it used to be you had to
Let me see if I can
buy.
If you mess
Oh,
up
here
your
you go.
fourth down, then you give the ball
Uh,
to their team.
Oh, so they did pull this from the game. Huh.
Yep.
Clear the 10 yards, then you're back at first down?
First down, that's right.
Confusing.
You just got to play it a couple
So,
times. It all
Yeah,
makes
so
sense.
they built it originally, and you had to buy it as a DLC extension. And now with this game, with this version, it comes as part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So you just get to play it, and it's been upgraded just like this one has.
Okay. One of these buildings look like a mirror to me.
Well, we'll head to Central Grounds. Should be able to see most of the campus from there.
You know, it's interesting. I was seeing this in the show, maybe because they didn't the budgeting and everything, at least on the exterior, they didn't make it look nearly as distressed as this.
Yeah. Agreed.
Which, in watching that, I remember thinking, I was like,
What kind of name is
this
Alex
looks
anyway?
very too perfect compared to everything else that we saw.
Yeah. That is the one place around the university that they left it a little more gussied up than what the show is. Because even when you get into the labs, like it's pretty beat up.
Yeah, because inside it made sense to me. And I was like, maybe they clearly didn't have the green light to do a whole lot on this campus, which I guess maybe makes sense.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if you could be right. It could be that they just couldn't find a good campus in Canada that allowed for that kind of a set piece to be there. I'm not sure, but
Time to go to work.
That and this campus on this is much more sprawling than it felt even on the show. Like it felt bigger.
Yeah, this is interesting. They made that decision. Do we
Yeah.
see monkeys in this one?
Yeah.
I didn't remember that in the game.
Yep, we do. Because the monkeys play a big part in the story, actually, like as to why the Fireflies leave the campus. There's letters around, and I may not find them all, so I can just talk about it. But there's letters all around the campus about the scientists that's what they're currently doing, is working on a cure as well. And so one of the things that they run into is, I can't do anything with this one. That sucks. They've got these monkeys that are infected, but the animals don't get infected in the same way, so they don't go crazy. They don't have it. Here's an interesting fact about cordyceps virus that they don't talk about, and that is that the current cordyceps virus that infects insects, each insect has a unique version of the cordyceps virus. So it's not just some overall, everybody has the same cordyceps. It's mutated to a specific insect. So when ants have it, it's the ant version of the cordyceps. So that's what they're kind of getting at. They don't come out and say it in this, but this version that's infecting humans only infects humans in that way. And so you see in this campus that the monkeys have a version of it, and they're trying to figure out how to find a cure and things like that based on the monkeys, but they can't get it to work. But the bite of a monkey will still pass the virus on. So that's why some of them get infected and the building gets infected, and so then they have to leave this campus. Sometimes I impress myself with my knowledge of this shit, and then I go, you have no life,
yeah,
sir.
Dude. you know a lot. Like, damn.
Yeah. I like it, and then sometimes I'm like, oh.
I need that pill from Limitless to help out my cognitive brain function.
There you go. I got a big battle coming up here, so I'm looking for more gear.
You got enough shinies.
There was a lookout here.
That's a good sign.
It's just convenient that there's bullet casings all over this place.
That's right. Yeah, so here's some writing. I'm not going to read all of it. I was reading some of it with Alec. When we did last week, we talked about Ish, and so I read all of Ish's letter from the underground stuff. It was kind of fun. So yeah, you can see they're getting guys in, they're getting deliveries. And then, yeah, he doesn't like, and then they talk about Utah. And then wrangling supplies.
Utah.
3 doctors, 2 recruits.
Oh, yeah, that's actually going to be the one thing that is in the show. They all dots pointed to Salt Lake City. Is that true to form for the game too, or is that they changed the? I couldn't remember that.
Yeah, you end up in Salt Lake City. It's kind of interesting because it's funny because after you get through this portion and then you get through the next section with Ellie, like when you start getting to Salt Lake City, like if you're familiar with Salt Lake City, like you are, and I am, like it'll be interesting when you get there because the landscape. There's certain parts of it where you're like, oh yeah, shit, that's Salt Lake. And so you're like, man, they did some serious like scouting for it and did some pretty good like city framing around it. And then there's other portions of it like St. Mary's, like Casey even pointed it out. The hospital that they're going to is called St. Mary's, which, as you know, there's not a St. Mary's hospital in Salt Lake. It would be more likely that they'd be talking about Primary Children's Hospital or something like that. That's or the LDS hospital. Like there's a couple of big hospitals, but it's not St. Mary's.
Places, people would live here and just study.
But yeah, you end up there. And then they get some weird
find themselves.
What
they wanted to do with their lives.
What they wanted to do with their lives.
That's funny. And then they got there is a little difference because it seems like they've built some sort of like underground piece for Salt Lake, which we know doesn't exist, but they needed to have it for like a piece of the game. So it's really interesting, the stuff that's true to form versus the stuff that you're like, where the hell did they come up with that?
Yeah. You're like, why did they focus on the realism here and then just pick the random thing there? And you're like, that doesn't make
How many
sense.
people do you think are there? Fireflies.
I reckon it takes quite a crew to run that operation.
Do you think there'll be other people my age?
I'm not sure.
I am interested to see in the show how they handle some of this conversation stuff, because the conversations change after Jackson. Like, they're much more calm and like friendly, and like there's that understanding of each other and where they're at and what they're working on.
Mhm.
So it's very different than what we've seen up to this point, even in the game, and then for sure in the show. So I'm really curious as to how they're going to handle some of that as well. Okay, I think I do have to go in there and then ride through to the end.
It's time to fight, JJ.
I know, I'm getting there. There's the big mirrored building in the background.
Mm-hmm. Tell you what, I wouldn't mind never having to go to school again. You know, I should never have to, but
Yeah.
that's something that the apocalypse can get rid of.
Yeah. I certainly wouldn't have missed it, that's for sure.
Although we might get there anyways with this conversational AI and what it's going to do to learning and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. You never know.
And shoot, people won't be able to do survival aspects, and they won't be able to write or constructively think on their own to an extent, because we'll just rely on machines. And if those go kaput or they turn on us like Skynet.
Yeah. Oh, baby. Got the flamethrower.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think, you know, that's one downfall, if you can call it that, of technology is where we get too complacent and reliant on technology. We had to rig up. What does this say? The generator upstairs.
Yeah, we rely. Like, I'm significantly a worse speller than the same me would have been in 1990 or early 2000s because of autocorrect and spell check and stuff like that. Because I don't ever think of words that there's words like nausea, for instance, that I should know how to spell at this point, but I just rely on autocorrect half the time and it does it for me. But then I never actually like really learn it, you know?
Yeah.
I just keep letting that same thing, or like guarantee. I know I always spell that word wrong, but autocorrect saves me. So I still spell it wrong.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't, hilariously enough, I can't guarantee, but if you asked me to spell guarantee, that I'd get it right first time without spell
like
check.
Restaurant, I know half the time I spell it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh.
I love the big weapons like the axe and the machete, because they're down there messing with Ellie.
And that's that.
Go save her, Father Joel.
That's right.
Damn straight.
Get him.
It's Miller time.
It's Miller time. Now I got to go find another good weapon.
That's what HBO and Naughty Dog and Miller need to do, is do like a Miller time commercial with Joel.
That would be smart. That's good. That's
dope.
just good marketing right there.
Oh, you'd go out and buy a limited edition Miller time.
No questions asked.
Yeah, done deal.
Yeah, you go tell me you got a 12-pack of Miller. I hate Miller. You tell me you got a 12-pack of Miller that's got like it's a special edition, never making it again for this game. I'm in.
Oh yeah. And get a commercial with get their team to do a 30 second mock-up, which would take a lot of time for what it actually means, but it'd be worth their money.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I can't say I'd actually drink the Miller, but that's not true. I would.
If we get you in the right state, you'll drink just about anything.
Yeah, that's fair. Actually, I got drugs I can use here. Maximum health. That's good.
You know my stance on drugs. Take them if they're helpful.
Yeah, you know my stance on drugs.
That's a loose term right there. What is helpful is up to interpretation.
Yeah, that is a very subjective idea there.
Hey, I was thinking.
I always say I'm a man of the people.
Be an astronaut.
That a fact.
Yeah.
Yep. My
Can you imagine being up there all by yourself?
my thoughts on drugs are they are delicious.
I'm just saying.
Why did I get on this horse? I'm gonna have to get off to open this stupid thing.
Actually, she just brought up something from the show as well about Joel and her's conversation on, hey, what would you want to be if you could? She talks about like going to the moon, all that stuff, and she just mentioned astronaut. Did they pull that verbatim from the game, or did they take some liberties there?
No, they pull it verbatim. That's always one of her things, is she talks about being an astronaut, and here's
when I was a kid,
he wanted to be a singer, just straight from the show.
Oh yeah, it's right here. Okay.
Shut up.
So serious.
Sing something.
No,
Come on, I won't laugh.
I don't think so.
Joel, please.
So this conversation, though, the astronaut thing, the singer thing, it comes back in a very big way in game 2, though.
Are those monkeys?
Yeah, here's your monkeys.
Yeah, a whole mess of them.
Monkeys.
So yeah, that comes back in a very big payoff. A couple of times actually in game 2. In fact, one of the most emotional
That was kind of awesome.
scenes
First
in
time
the
seeing a
game
monkey?
has to do with
First
this
time seeing a
conversation. 2 of them actually. Kind of looking forward because I'm going to play it with you. Should probably play it, dude, because I'm playing it like this. I already told Alec and Gray I would.
Oh, you're gonna do it?
Yeah, because Alec hasn't played it, and he'll never play it
He's gotta,
himself.
keep a low profile.
Yeah, he's
So-
too big of a pussy.
Yeah, it's true. He is way too big of a punani. So he'll never do it, but he'll sit and watch me do it while I play it. But it's a much bigger game, so I'll have to. I've already talked about. I'm going to limit it to like
Hey, look.
an hour and a half, regardless of where I end up.
I was gonna say, I know that one has a longer play time. It's like,
Yeah, and I have to be careful because I can sit down and play that one for hours and not even think about it because it's just so damn good.
what's
So-
the total play time? Would you say on 1 versus 2? If you're not going crazy for shinies, like you're decent about it, but you're not like insane about it.
Yeah, like if you play the necessities straight through and you're kind of playing at a normal pace, not taking too long, but not rushing either, you're probably 20 to 30 hours on this one. And I'm actually playing very fast compared to what I normally would. 1, because I'm on super easy mode, so there's not like I'm facing any kind of a challenge. But 2, I'm not. I would normally be going through to get. I got a platinum trophy for this game, the original versions, and so
Yeah, you're trying to get all the shinies, all the Easter
yeah. I
eggs,
mean, I get
everything.
all that stuff, and so
Yeah.
it's yeah. But I bet on a normal pace, you're like 25, 30 hours to get through this one, and then you're probably all the way through at a normal pace. You're probably 35, 40 hours on the second one.
Okay. Yeah, that's significantly longer.
Oh, do we have a comment there? Looks like we have a comment, Mattson.
We do.
Who's the comment?
I don't know this individual.
Hey.
Oh, hi. From Dane Hyper. If I said that correctly, feel free to just say and tell us that I just totally butchered that. Thanks for joining the stream. We are currently playing Last of Us, trying to catch up to where we left off on the HBO Max series, which we're getting close at. So we're actually in the Colorado campus currently, looking through this log right now. JJ is playing for us, so thanks for chiming in.
Yeah, thanks for joining, man.
We're talking about the
Unreal.
show, talking about, and what have we talked a lot about today? Just survival. Talked about show comparisons. I mean, a bunch of different topics. So if there's something that you wanted to discuss from the game or the show or something else, chime in.
Yeah, spores. Oh boy,
We're gonna get into a firefight.
sporific.
That's actually another good point, Jay. In terms of the game versus show, how are you still just absolutely loving their deviation from the spore, just trying to make it more of a believable?
Yeah, like I don't think, because you don't see the spores except in like the gameplay modes. Like, so that's one of the ways that they tell you you're getting ready to fight some infected, right? Like, and so I don't mind the lack of spores, or that the fact that the spores don't do anything for you in the show. One, because like you said, realistically, from a scientific perspective, we'd all be infected. There'd be no getting away from this virus because spores are everywhere. All of us have some form of the cordyceps virus in our system because we are around bugs that are infected, and any spore from any fungus is out there, period. So, and then the second piece of that is I'm okay with it because it, from the show, it doesn't really, in my opinion, add any value because we don't have the gameplay style that you have in the game. So from the game, it's more of a, like I said, a telltale you're getting ready to take on some clickers or some runners, the infected. But in the show, that's, they've denoted that through crap. There's the noise, right? Versus,
I am hoping we do get another sweet clicker runner bloater experience again, like we did. What was that episode? Was that episode 4 that we saw?
4 or 5? No, I think it was 5. It was 5.
I want to see just more of their sheer power and more of like a battle with the infected again. So we haven't honestly really gotten too much of that, or even like a real firefight for that matter. So I am itching for something more action oriented.
Yeah, I'm with you. I really want now. You do run into another bloater in Salt Lake City in an area, so I'm hoping maybe we'll still see that.
Yeah,
but it's one of the big differences between the first game and the second when it comes to game wise is they kind of doubled down on the amount of infected that you take on in certain areas of game 2, because game 1 has enough, right, to keep it going. But in game 2, you see a little bit more of them. It's a little more sporadic. You do face a lot of humans, but you do face more infected. Speaking of bloaters.
Oof. Oh, do we have one in here?
Yeah, there's one right there in front of me. I'm going to see if I got any more clickers that I... Oh, see. I want to get rid of this guy first.
And they did such a good job with the acting of the clickers. I mean, even in game though, just creating this in a video game sense, like, so impressive.
Yeah, they're pretty.
I'd love to know how they did the audio for the clickers in the video games. That's one thing I love about games and shows is just sound effects don't come from the way that you think they do in a lot of ways. It's always just so different.
So this one I can tell you, and you really should like check out YouTube if you're interested in a lot of that stuff. Like, because YouTube, like they did a lot of behind the scenes with this game.
Okay.
And so they talk about the way, a lot of the ways that the sound and the visuals were done in the show. So they do tell you about, like, most of it came, there was a person that was making a lot of the noise, and then of course they and then of course they enhance it. You know, they put other sound effects behind it and things like that, and I don't remember what they were, but they take so much to take them down.
Well, it ain't on easy mode. Jay, we got a question. Are we playing The Last of Us on PlayStation Plus?
No, great question though. We're playing it on PlayStation 5 via remote play on my PC. I wished I was going to hopefully do it with the PC version, but that's one, it wasn't set to come out till March 3rd. Then they've now pushed it to March 28th. So when that comes out, I'll definitely be playing it on PC again because I don't need any excuse.
And
really
that
to
will be
play it.
what, number 8 you've played on? 8 times you played now?
I think it'll be 6 for this game.
Okay.
6 or 7.
How many times have you played the second?
It just as many, probably more actually. I think I've played the second game through 7 times, 6 or 7 times as well. I can't get it. That game to me, it will always be, and I have some, I have high expectations for games. Like I think the Mass Effect series is amazing from a storytelling perspective. There's a lot of great games, but to me, part 2, and I said it earlier, it's one of it is the most emotionally charged game I've ever played. And it's realistic. It's asked some serious questions. Like this one does too, but the second one, it just makes you question human nature so much. And so it's so interesting. And like the what would you do questions abound in the second game.
Got another comment.
Yeah.
Episode 7 of The Last of Us could be left behind.
I think it's going to be. And we were talking about that a little earlier, Dane. I think I'm super excited because Mattson hasn't ever seen, nor has Alec, the other guys the other guy that's usually here with us. They've never seen Left Behind, the DLC, so they don't know about Riley and the mall. And
yeah,
so
I
I'm
played
really
the
looking
first
forward to
one,
that.
but didn't play the DLC. I didn't know about it, so I am completely in the dark on that.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll be playing Left Behind next week if that's where we're at as far as game goes. So.
I mean, it certainly seems like that's what the episode will be. So
yeah, it does.
Dane, if we're saying it wrong, let us know. But we'd love to. What are your thoughts on the show series so far? Are you enjoying it? It seems like you've played these games before. Maybe you haven't, but curious to get your take on it. But Jay, you bring up a good point about, you were just talking before we read that comment about the moral decisions, and I think that's one of the things I love most about this game is when you think about a game like this, especially for people that haven't played the game but are watching this as a show, a lot of like The Walking Dead and things, you always think like, oh, zombie apocalypse, it's all about the zombies, but a lot of times it becomes more about the people and the transformations that they make and who they become. Are you going to be good? Are you going to be bad? Were you bad? Have you become good? Do you have a moral compass? And it's just always interesting to think like who I am now versus what I would be post-apocalyptic. Like what would change about me? Would I become hardened and ruthless, or would I be one of those too nice people that would get taken advantage of and killed? And it's hard to say.
Yeah. It's a big question for sure. And it's, and I think this one, like you said, we've talked about it a couple of times. This one poses some real questions like that, right? Like even, especially when you get to the end of the game, like what would you do? How would you handle certain things? But like part 2, man, God, it's the whole thing. Both sides of the game are like completely and utterly like I think I've told you this too before, Mattson. Like it as much as I love it, it also is one of the most uncomfortable games I've ever played because you're constantly questioning, like, should I be doing this? Like, this is very hard to like justify what we're doing and how we're handling it. And like, I think it's just one giant question of, should I be doing this? And so it's really, the whole game kind of makes you a little uncomfortable if you're playing it right, in my opinion. Come on.
In number 2, do they give you, like, one of the games I enjoy playing from years ago is Infamous 1 and 2, because they give you, that's the gameplay where the decisions you make, you become more like Sith style versus like Jedi style, if that makes sense. And at least for Last of Us 1, while it's a great game, it's more scripted in the sense there's not like choices you make that influence how the story could be told later. But does The Last of Us 2 have more of that variability, or at least the presentation of that in a way?
It doesn't. It is very linear, just like the second one, which is part of the reason that it makes you uncomfortable, because there's things that you have to do in the game as this set of characters that are, depending on who you are, and how you do things like are morally reprehensible, right? And there's no way around them because it's part of the game you're playing, so you have to do them. So there's not a lot of choice, like you're talking about with
Let's try the game.
those games, and even Mass Effect, very similar. You can make a lot of choices and choose to be a dick, or you can choose to be nice.
Go through.
You don't get that, but you do get faced with having to make very difficult or be part of the process, in that you get to see why certain things are done from certain perspectives,
Mhm.
and then you have to like kind of
They haven't
come to
affected so close to
grips
the lab.
with
Well, Bill used them as a
how you
form of
feel about
defense. Maybe
that.
they're
How
doing the
would you
same.
handle it?
Yeah,
You know,
I could see that.
and it's way more so in that second game than even in this one, and even this one has some level of that, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's a tough game to play sometimes.
No guards.
And that's why I'm hopeful. I know we're all excited about with video games to go into more like AR, especially VR. And I wanted us to go there, and I've talked about this before in some other episodes about just recently with ChatGPT and conversational AI and all those things, where can we get to a world in where video games where they create the game, but there's those games where they have alternate endings or decision trees, but it's more functional if we can incorporate AI into that and make it more seamless and have those variability trees, and it would be a lot more money to make the game and all those things certainly, and I don't think it's anytime soon. But having an AI behind running some of these things in these scenarios, man, it'd be something.
Yeah,
What happened?
agreed.
Okay,
Yeah, because even like
too much.
Mass Effect, which is still one of the best when it comes to decision making and like being able to kind of tell your own story through the game, it pigeonholes itself, right? So you get all these decisions and you're doing all this stuff, but you get to the end and you're still stuck with like a couple of options, and so it doesn't necessarily play out the same way that you may have made your decisions throughout the game. And I agree. I think if they can figure out the AI and like some of this technology that we have that can really change the face of video games, I really think we could start to see some things that follow. It's like a real choose your own adventure video game. Like how bitchin' would that be, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And I think it affect a lot of like what you call, for our listeners, JJ, when he picks things up, he likes to call them shinies.
yeah.
You just think like the forging aspect of video games and things like that. And if you're overusing ammo, does the game learn that or your tendencies and rewards or punishes you for that? And I think the biggest area is making NPCs that are just more reactive to your movement and the believability behind that, because we've seen it in you playing today where you're within 5 feet from the enemy and then it's still going down, poking its head up, not really like, it's just not happening like that in real life.
Yeah.
But to program a game like that, you just don't have time or the computing power, whatever it may be. And that's where one day, like the believability factor of a video game taking that next step, not only it being VR, because I think that's where everyone's like, oh, it's the next step, it'll be right in front of your face. But it's like, well, the mechanics behind it still, there's an evolution there.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. I think, to your point, like they talk about, because there's games that like brag about artificial enemies or like intelligent to a certain degree enemies or NPCs to where they'll adapt. And some games have a little bit, but no one's truly figured out like a true intelligent NPC where
Because it'd be like in this game, if you've been using your shotgun and they start to see that, okay, we're going to keep our distance, and do we have that sniper? They focus more on that and they become harder to find. They're not as close. Or if you're sniping him, all of a sudden they're starting to advance in ways that you didn't expect. You got to change your tactic, and that adaptive, kind of reactive, adaptive gameplay where. And then if you were the replayability of that as well, if it's changing, like some of the games I love to play, they have like the changing levels where it's different every time you play into it, where the gameplay mechanics would, even your fifth time playing it through, because your fighting style could be different in that present moment, the battle plays out totally different. Whereas every time you do this, the fighting's basically, it pretty much is straight up the same.
Yeah, for sure.
So those are just things that I think about that I get
Around.
really excited because I mean those capabilities really aren't far off, and if video games made, I mean, they make a ton of money, so the more that people keep playing them, I mean, that's where game studios will start to really push the technology in that regard. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah, me too. And I like to think that, like, you know, we kind of live in our own funding cycle for that, right? So like the more you play, the more opportunity they have, like you say, to fund themselves and buy. But that's kind of the dream, right? Is you have like a game that the replayability is so good because it's adaptable to you and your play style. Like I love that concept and that idea, because I mean that's where you're kind of hoping for is, you know, do I have that cool of a system that we can make it so each time you play, I'm going to choose a different way to handle myself. So like I like the shotgun. This time I'm going to focus on the handguns and see how that makes the playing of it different. Yeah, I think that's, man, if we're not going there, then we're in trouble. But it's also a matter of, you know, how long does it take to develop that kind of tech and that kind of smart engine? So.
And on that note, Jay, when you think about video games for yourself, for our listeners, JJ's just a little above 40, so and I'm just over 30, so he's seen even more in the video game world than I have. What have been some of the biggest, whether it's console to console, game to game, like just like game tech that has just really blown you away, like those advances? What has that been for you?
Man, you know, I think, and I keep bringing it up, but I think Mass Effect was a big one because of the amount of choice that you did have. And even though they couldn't close it off the way that you would kind of hope that they would be able to in the end, because the payoff wasn't there for all the choices that you've been making, but the ability to, and even the dialogue was somewhat limited, right? Because you can only have two options and you still need, in a lot of ways, for it to end up the same way. But there was with Mass Effect, like, you would build a team in the second one, and not everybody survived. You know what I mean? Based on the choices that you made. So I think from a level of allowing choice, I think Mass Effect and that one really was a big difference. But I think probably the biggest difference right now is, as cliche as it may sound, is the PS5 and the Xbox One X, like these new 5th generation consoles. Because I have a PC and I've been playing on PC for years. You know, and I used to joke, I didn't have one for a long time, but I used to make fun of the guys who'd be like, oh, PC's the master race, you know what I mean? But after I got one and I spent some decent money on it and I built my own, like, I can't deny the fact that it looks better on my PC, but that's because the technology is more powerful. But with the PS5, they've been able to put similar technology. Like, my computer still looks better than the PS5. It just does. But that's because of the level of technology that I have. Now, as you can see, even playing through this with me on a remote format, it still is gorgeous. And so for me, I've been around since the Atari days when you were lucky if you could even tell that it was a person that you were playing with. You know what I mean? And then, you know, like something like Mario or any kind of 8-bit program was just not the same level, to where now you get things like this. If you're not looking at it right, you might look at Joel and go, holy shit, that looks like a real person or a painting. You know what I mean? So I think that's the graphics and the ability for us to build these graphic interfaces and generate the level of clarity and detail. It's probably the biggest update that I've seen.
I think for me, there's always a war between graphics and gameplay, because obviously everyone's always like, oh, the graphics. But I think a lot of games can get propped up because they have good graphics, but the gameplay behind it is just too linear and not revolutionary enough. And so a game that always sticks in mind to me is GTA, just being so sandbox worthy that, I mean, GTA 5, we haven't even gotten to 6 because there's too much shit to do online, which I love and hate, because I'm like, dude, give me another one. But that for me is when games started, and you really started to see those around maybe like a little bit PS2. Like, I remember the Spider-Man game that came out that was kind of sandbox, at least like very minimally sandbox, but you felt the freedom of web slinging everywhere and exploring the city.
Nothing
But then
useful.
from then on, like, it really started to take off with Infamous and GTA and some other games I should be able to name that you can help me with. But that is what I love about a video game, because
Maybe not all of them.
it makes it feel like my choice matters to an extent, because games that become super linear at times, I can tune out a little bit if their storyline isn't super robust like it is in like Last of Us, for instance.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. So one of like the best ideas that I saw with the PlayStation 3 update was Assassin's Creed, the original Assassin's Creed game, because it gave you
That's a
like
good one.
there was a linear storyline, but it gave you a lot of options on how you got there. And you didn't have to do them all. You could just get to a certain point that would then, like, you go off and do some assassinations that would then open up the final storyline, and you could do it at any point that you wanted, as long as you got to that right level.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and I'm with you, I think the open world games are very impressive, and I think they're something that, I mean, they're the future, no question about it.
That's good.
I
Right?
think the one struggle that I'm one thing that I don't like about that upgrade and that enhancement, if you want to say, or the shift is I'm not a big fan of like the games as service kind of way that we're going, and that's only because it's the monetization part of it for me like kind of pisses me off. Like, I'm fine. I've told you a million times, like, I'll throw money at the screen any day, like, because that's kind of stuff is important to me. Like, I want, like, there's certain things I won't, like most level of cosmetics for certain games I won't, but I'm a big, not as much anymore, but I used to play Destiny like constantly, and Destiny 2. Well, there's a lot of microtransactions that are available for, like, you know, visual stuff, and is it worth spending money on it? Probably not. But I've thrown money at the screen many times for that game and for, you know, different skins and things like that, because that's something that I'll do. Now, what I don't like is and what I'll never be okay with is like hiding certain things behind a paywall that you need to compete.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're trying to play a game and it's pay to win, that pisses me off.
What's a good example of that?
Well, they don't do them much anymore, but like, so when I'm trying to think of the name of the game now, that it wasn't that long ago, but they came out and like there were cards involved, and so was it Need for Speed? I don't remember. There was a game anyway that came out, and you need to collect cards that gave you stuff that
it just let you buy some of these.
Well, you could get it naturally through the game, but they figured out it would cost you to get to the level, because these things are what helped you level up. So you had to have certain types of cards, and you had to have certain things, and the big dog stuff that you could get, you had to literally, I think it was like they figured out to get it and guarantee it, you had to spend like $20,000. Oh, it was Star Wars. What's the game that you love, like the
Battlefront.
So the most recent,
I didn't know that you could buy the cards.
yeah, in the most recent iteration of Battlefront, you could buy those cards. You could buy these. Well, what you could buy was a chest, and the chest would have random cards in it, right? So you would get those random cards, and it was like gambling. Like, they were getting ready to do some lawsuit stuff over it because they thought it was gambling for kids, because you pay $10 and you have a X amount of percentage chance to actually get something that's going to impact your gameplay and make you better. And so, like, that kind of pay to win stuff is just bullshit, because people like me, like, fine, I'll pay it. You know what I mean? If it's going to make me better and I'm going to be better at the game, I'll pay it. I have that kind of capability in my life that I can say I want to win and it's worth paying for it. You know what I mean? It's not fair because a lot of people don't have that capability, right? Like, and so
yeah, I just hate that, because even though I have the capability to do it, like, I just one of those people, I can't rationalize spending more money on something when I paid for the game, and I just want to play and be rewarded for being good or being bad or mediocre at the game and leave it at that.
Sure.
because we know how much we like take Overwatch, for instance. So what's the phrase you always use when it's a new season? People that are really good but lower themselves down.
The Smurfs.
Yeah, like there's enough of that going on anyways. Like you don't even need to incentivize people to pay, because you could just these days pay someone to level up your account anyways. Like there's a bunch of shady ways to get that done.
Oh yeah. Well, and I won't lie, like my buddy Snuff that you've talked to, or at least talked to his son, like Snuff has paid for people to like get a team together and Sherpa him through a raid and like invited me along. And it's not that they do it for you, like we actually play with them. But like they'll teach you how to do the raid, and it costs a little bit of money, and they make a living on it. Like we know personally one of them that we played with her a ton, even outside. Like she would like be doing runs or whatever, and invite a couple people along to just play that we weren't paying for. But like, yeah, like Reba was great, and she made a decent living just running people through the game. And now sometimes like they had options to where people like would pay to not have to do it. Like they would do it all for them. Like they'd sign into your account, and they don't let you do that as much anymore. Cause like a lot of the game,
well, 2-factor, all that stuff.
Yeah. They get a lot of the, like, they're trying to crack down on that. And I get that too, cause you didn't earn that in any kind of way, shape or form. Like,
yeah, that part, the one you described, like if you're going to pay for that, you're going to do it, but you're with like a team. Do I love it? I don't love it, but at least you're still doing it. But like to literally like hand your account over and let somebody like, no, that
it's a form of cheating.
Then I'm like, well, at what point, like, where's the joy in the grind?
Sure. Well, and how do you get better at the game, right? Like,
sure,
when I play like multiplayer games, like and you and I've played Overwatch, we played Fortnite. I played a lot of PvP on Destiny. And I was terrible at all of them when I first started, and I had to learn how to play, and I had to get better. And man, I died a lot and a lot of frustration, but I'm not a great player by any means at any of those now, but I'm at least good enough that I can hang with most players. And so, but it wouldn't be fun for me to be shit and have to pay somebody to get me all the stuff now. You know what I mean? Because, yeah.
Good luck with that.
Do you know where that is?
I know.
Yeah, I feel you for sure.
Far?
It ain't close.
New Game World's an interesting one.
Yeah.
What? Fireflies?
Get down.
Oh.
What the fuck are these guys?
I will say that this is one that little audio recording is one that I wish they'd included something like that in the
so
show.
like what happened?
Yeah, because like that level of anger is like, it's an interesting concept in the game because it talks about the fact that the Fireflies were here, but they bailed on everybody because of XYZ, and then there's a bunch of other issues that they're dealing with. And so it just shows that, again, even working with the Fireflies is a morally interesting question, right? Like, we understand that Ellie's immunity and the fact that they could possibly make a cure or like a vaccine is very important, but it also doesn't mean that it's worth what you have to do to get there or what they're doing to people. Oh, I didn't even see that guy there. Oh. Ooh, he dropped an axe.
Whoa.
The physics of that didn't quite work very well. You took like 2 massive shots and didn't go down, and then you turned around and just knife him right in the jugular.
I know. I loved it. Video game physics, dude.
Your dude got rocked. He'd be on the ground in pain. Oh, love it.
Oh boy. Come get some.
I remember this part.
Okay, I'm gonna swap sides. Move, Ellie.
Come to Papa.
Get him!
Oh, that's a lot of guys.
Yeah, you got a lot of people on you.
Time to switch back to the freaking hurtful shit.
Watch my back.
Do what now?
Oh.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Oh, yeah. You do what? Get shot, Joel.
Way to take him out, Joel.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Oh, I need to hide and kind of button up here a little. That shit kind of hurt.
Yeah, you got shot like point blank.
Yeah.
That's not going to feel good in the morning.
No.
Here he is.
Oh. Such good aim. In the dark.
Yep.
No problem.
Gotta love it. He's got a lot of experience in his 57 years, dude.
Start calling you Joel Wick Miller.
Oh, you know what I need to do? I need to do one of my favorite things. I haven't done this in a while.
Burn somebody?
No, I should do that too, though, but nope. This right here.
Oh.
You want some too?
Especially speaking about video game AI, I love how that you were like, oh, I need to do this thing. And then there's a dude literally 2 feet from you aiming down the hallway.
Yeah, no kidding.
You're like,
Perfect specimen.
served up on a silver platter.
Oh, hey, down there's some future pain coming.
Yep.
All right, time to get out the shotgun.
Yeah, from when I remember that fall, like, pretty sure he would be dead.
Yeah, it was funny. So you were there when we were talking to Gray about it. Wow. The shotgun aim just sucks.
Oh, dude, you were taking some serious. Oh, thank goodness for Ellie. Oh.
Uh-oh. Hold on, dude. Wait for me. I got to patch myself up again.
Yeah, just let the 14-year-old girl defend you.
Yeah, dude. Oh.
Oh! Just trying to eat a bullet for breakfast? Or for,
yeah, dude.
I guess it should be for 4th meal because it's late.
I knew he wasn't going to get me. Yeah, here comes the 2-story fall. It was only 2 stories, but still 2 stories into a nice piece of rebar.
Oh yeah, dude, he's so dead.
Yeah, he's toast.
So it's a decision like this though. Why didn't they just make it a little bit more believable in the game?
I really think it was the shock and awe of it all. Like, it had to be bad, but then I get where they're coming from because it has to be bad enough that,
What do you want me to do?
like, he can't just, like, it can't be a leg wound, right? Where he just kind of gets up and hobbles around. And then she kind of helps him out to a certain degree. Though I still think a leg wound would have been more advisable because at least he could, like, pass out from loss of blood and then
leg
chance of
but
infection. But yeah, right in the gut, like,
1,
it's rough.
2, 3.
And then you do this, like,
dude, he's so dead.
yeah.
Yeah, no. Just give him a leg wound. If you're just trying to make him walk slow and be woozy.
Or through the shoulder, you know what I mean? Like his
Sure.
non-shooting arm.
Joel?
This is a bad wound in normal life, post-apocalyptic. You're dead.
Yeah.
He's gonna hop. Oh, pff, yeah. He
Yeah.
would have wailed over like.
Yeah.
And you gotta keep. How much more people do you have to fight?
There's a couple.
Oh my gosh! And you're gonna have perfect aim.
No, Ellie kind of takes over. Like she This is where Ellie starts. She turns into a little badass.
Come on out.
Because you can't
Do this the hard way.
Yeah, you can't like. Yeah.
Bitch.
But I do
Got
have
that-
perfect aim there.
Got that headshot though, like no
Oh,
big
yeah.
deal.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It just punctured a freaking perforated a bow. You
We
know,
gotta get you out of here.
at the very least, you freaking nicked a freaking kidney.
You're not okay, Joel.
Yes, he is not okay. And if he's telling you otherwise, Ellie, you can call BS.
Move it.
Yeah, he's full of shit.
There's no one here. Hurry.
It's JJ stumbling to the fridge at 2 a.m. for a
Pretty
snack.
much.
Doing good.
It's
Just
about
like
what
that.
it looks like too.
Need brisket.
Oh man. Here, lean on me.
No.
Well, can you walk?
Yes.
Stubborn as ever.
Yep. Yeah, I love that she's like, then fucking
Yeah.
walk, dude. Quit your bitching.
That's why W said he does live. All right, dick,
Yeah.
get up and do it then. You don't want no help, you pompous ass.
Just a little bit more. Come on. Hey. Joel.
He is losing all kinds of blood.
The kid's got a
Fuck
gun.
back.
Watch out. Hey,
Shit. Shit.
you little shit.
Oh,
Told you, Ellie comes into her own here, like
Here. Stand up.
little badass.
yeah,
Put your arm around me. All right. Let's
proud
go.
of her.
Mm-hmm.
Swear to God, I get you out of this. You're so singing for me.
And she still finds time to make jokes.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't think I'd be joking.
Out
Yeah.
the door.
Take your time.
Take your time.
Come on.
Just let bleed out here.
Yeah.
No worries.
There you go.
Fuck. Oh shit.
That is one brave horse too.
Yeah, didn't run away.
Get the horse.
All right.
Pretty sure 9 times out of 10 that horse is
Oh yeah, that
Gone.
horse takes off.
gone.
Though I guess it depends. If they used
You
it in
get on?
Jackson a lot to like clear herds or something. If it's been shot on for a while, then it might be okay.
Maybe. I guess.
But
yeah,
being
wild-
shot at is a little different than
little sus.
yeah.
All right. Well, we are basically to the point.
Yeah, he's getting ready to fall off right here.
Yeah.
Joel. Shit. Joel. Here. Oh. Get up. Get up. Get up.
Yeah, he's not moving.
You
No.
gotta get up. Joel.
There it is.
Caught
Turn
up.
it off. Turn it off there so we can not have that in our ear, but yeah, all caught up for episode 6.
We are very excited for episode 7. Going to be playing the DLC
Yeah.
next week with Ellie's backstory, and thank you all for taking the time. You can catch us on Mondays when we do the live recap from the HBO Max series at 6 p.m. Mountain, 5 p.m. Pacific, F Central Time. And then on Tuesdays, like we just did right now, for those of you that have watched us throughout the stream, we are playing live, catching up to where the episode left off. So next week, again, we'll be playing Ellie's backstory.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's been a minute. I've only played Left Behind like twice, so that it's been a minute since I played it, so it'll be fun.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks for as always joining us, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Bye.
Cinemagic out.